First of all, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Martin, who will have a presentation today with us today and tomorrow. So this is the first day of the presentation. I'm very glad that you had time to come, Mr. Martin, and well, I can only say the stage is yours.
Thank you. I hope it will not only be a presentation or a lecture, but I expect your participation. So I hope we will spend the next an hour and a half in a quite an active and engaging way. So today we are going to start, and I'm really proud and honored to kick off the whole educational part of the week's workshops. And today we are going to talk about motivating the 21st century learners, but also when I saw you this morning or in the afternoon, I thought that it's also great that so many people are here, because we will also be talking about motivating ourselves, because this is also important. If you are not motivated on your own, it's really hard to motivate other people. Because they will see that there's something missing in what you are saying and what you are doing, which is why we should start with ourselves. So my name is Marcin Zarud, and just a brief introduction to give you some idea who came to you. I've been a teacher for 27 years. I've been teaching English in a high school in Tarnów, a city near Krakow. And for the last 3 years I've been also a physical education teacher, so I kind of expanded my skills. But also I'm an innovator. Together with my wife, a year ago we published a book about growth mindset in education, which is available for Polish teachers in a PDF version, which you can legally download, and I will give you tomorrow, I will give you lots of links which you will be able to use in the future, and also links in English. Now we are working as innovators, we are working with my wife on creating an e-learning course of English for teachers and future teachers, so pedagogy students. And this is a self-paced course, and it's already developed but not premiered yet. So you will have 5 modules where you will be able to learn English in the version which is needed by educators, so lots of vocabulary related to learning theories, projects, innovative teaching methods, flexible learning environments, growth mindset, and so on. So this will also be, I will give you links tomorrow, so this will be an additional thing for you. But unfortunately, only the version for Polish teachers is available. However, all the online materials are in English, so it should be quite easy to localize this e-learning course into any other language just by changing the Quizlet sets which we prepared for Polish teachers. So I'm also an expert in flexible learning environments. For 3 years I've worked with Future Classroom Lab experts from Brussels to create guidelines about flexible learning environments, and this is also something that you will be able to download in 5 European languages, a book in English, Portuguese, Turkish, French, Polish, so also something that you might use in the future. 10 years ago, exactly this year, I became the Polish Teacher of the Year due to the innovative things which I did with my students. And I'm also a podcaster, and I published 100 episodes of Edugatki, the podcast in English about education-related stuff. And I'm also a member of a Facebook group, which is a kind of professional learning community for Polish teachers called Super Beltrzy, so Super Teachers of Poland, and I will be talking about it tomorrow. And privately, I'm a fan of Kung Fu and Tai Chi. I'm also an instructor, so if you want to join me tomorrow early in the morning for Tai Chi training, you are welcome. We will be doing some very basic stuff, so it might be an opportunity for you if you have never tried Tai Chi, like, you know, half an hour of breathing the fresh air here in the mountains. So good. So let's start with the context of talking about motivation, because it's important to understand the situation which we are facing now. And we will start with the people whom we are teaching. So there are, let's say, 4, maybe 5 different generations. Before Generation X, there were baby boomers, people born before 1965. And then there is my generation, Generation X, 1965-1979. Anyone here is the Generation X? You can raise your hand. If you belong to Generation X, no? Okay. And then Generation Y, which the name didn't really stick. It didn't really stick because they are usually known as millennials and people born between 1980 and 1994. And if you are one of millennials, you can raise your hand. Great. And then Generation Z, or Z, also called I generation, because this generation is characterized by the fact that when they were born or when they were starting their school, they have already they were already able to use internet, and they don't know the world without the internet, in fact. And now the remaining part, the last part of Generation Z is in grade 4 of primary school, more or less, now. But the new generation, which is in the early education, the first 3 grades, and in preschool, kindergarten, they've been called Generation Alpha, so people born after 2012, and they are the least described group because everything is, you know, moving, and we've had the pandemic along the way. So this generation is a little bit of unknown for us, but when we consider the tendencies, they will probably be even more dependent on social media. They will be even more fragile. And we will also get back to talking about the generations which we are dealing with. So it's important that if you are a member of Generation X or baby boomers or millennials and you are dealing with iGen, you cannot judge them by your own standards, because you will always have some misunderstandings and you will become upset, and they will become upset because you are not on the same page, you cannot have the same wavelength, let's say, and so on. So it's important to, for example, read some books and read some reports related to their mental health. In Poland, 4 days ago, there was a premiere of a very important report, a research called Młode Głowy, Young Heads, which was carried out on 180,000 young people, students of primary school and high school. And the results are probably the same that students in Italy, France, Germany, Slovakia, Czech Republic would have been. So like every third student presents some symptoms of depression. Half of them think they are useless. They really strive for some signs of understanding from their parents, but sometimes they can wait and it will never come. Okay. So now the question for you, in your own countries, have you had some research, some studies related to mental health or to characteristics of the latest generations? Anyone? Yes? In Slovakia or in Czech Republic? And what about the results?
Jsou výsledky. Vlastně se ptá na
and think about your own countries.
We can maybe ask later.
Of course, yes. So we will get back to the results in Czech Republic. They are very interesting to compare the results. Any other country that... Okay, it's maybe a chance for you to have some say in this field and maybe initiate something like this, or just inquire if somebody carried out such a research. Why the research is important? Because sometimes we have our own feelings, sometimes we could, say that I'm 100% sure that something is because I had this situation and I have had this experience, and I can really give my head that it's like that. But then it really turns out that, okay, this is your experience, but it's not, it cannot be upscaled to the whole generation. So you need to be very careful about your own feelings. It's important to understand them, but it's better to rely on scientific data, especially in the world nowadays where we've got lots of fake news, lots of social media bias and so on. So good quality scientific research is something that we may always, or we should always be able to trust. Because sometimes it depends who sponsored the research, especially if it's related to some kind of technology, and then we learn that this company sponsored the research or another company. So university research is probably one of the most unbiased in this respect. Another context is, of course, the context that we all know sometimes too much. The coronavirus, the pandemic, and the experience of remote education. Who enjoyed remote education as a student? Because I know that you enjoyed, okay? And, good. Who enjoyed remote education as a teacher? A person, okay. Who would go back and, teach in this way, like always? Or learn in this way? Like 3, 4, 5 people?
Half and half.
Half, okay. Good. We will get back to the motive later on. But it's all important that nowadays we have in Poland the final year of high school. The final exams are going to be taken by students who experience remote education for 3 years. So it's kind of experiment in a way. What's going to happen? There are situations like, and I'm going to share my experience, like my friend who is also an English teacher tried to do a mock oral matura exam, so the English oral exam, and there were 2 girls who just burst in tears for no apparent reasons. but maybe because they didn't have the challenge of facing face-to-face conversation for a long time, and they hid behind turned-off cameras for 3 years, and then when they are faced with the real challenge, they are helpless. And this is something that we need to learn how to deal with. Another context which is very important for Generation Z, for iGen, and for Generation Alpha, and not too important for baby boomers, I believe, judging by what's going on in the world, is the climate crisis, and the fact that we as the old people really borrowed the earth from the younger generations, and we need to really start doing something now. We should have done that a long time ago. But also this is something that really concerns them, and this is something that older generations sometimes cannot understand. And this might be a line of misinterpretations, misunderstandings, and so on. And also, maybe this is a question for you, why this icon here, why this photo? Any ideas? Doesn't ring a bell a bit?
Global warming?
No, this is the climate crisis and so on, but what about this one?
I can say in Polish, pokolenie płatków śniegu.
Okay.
They are fragile like the snow.
Snowflake?
Snowflake.
Snowflake? Snowflake generation. Again, so snowflake generation is an umbrella term. It covers, you know, it's not connected like with snowflake generation, Z generation, or snowflake alpha, or snowflake millennials. It's just snowflake. So snowflake is very fragile, so you need to be very careful, but also there is a good side. And what's the good side of being a snowflake?
Being easily influenced?
Yes, they are easily influenced, but is it connected with snowflake? Maybe yes, maybe not, but something which, if you look at the snow, yes?
It is unique.
Exactly. There are no two the same snowflakes in the world, which means that we also need to see the students in front of us not as a group of 20 or 30 universally minded people, but as separate entities of 20 people with different expectations, different plans, different experiences, and so on and so forth. Do you like Lego blocks?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
I'm also a certified Lego teacher trainer, and when I was in Billund a few months ago, they showed us this class of Lego students, let's say, with Lego minifigures, and the first class was like every minifigure was identical, sitting in rows like this, and then they showed us the 21st century students, and then every minifigure was different, with something on their heads and with different colors of on their skin, with paintings and with different styles of hairdos and so on. So if you are an educator, it really helps to have this insight in who you have in front of you, and it really requires you to, and it gives you some upper hand in what you are planning to do with those people. And the last one, again, this is a question for you to give you some chance to engage yourself. What's that?
Programming.
AI.
Code program.
AI programming, but now we've got AI, artificial intelligence, and also as a context, just like with snowflakes, there were good sides and not so good sides. And how about the good sides of AI? What are some of the
accomplishing.
So raise your hand if you have had any experiences with AI. Mhm. Okay, I can bet that everybody has had it, because if you want to check your Google map to go to the place, you are using artificial intelligence. If you want to book an Uber or a scooter that's standing on the pavement, you are using artificial intelligence. If you are searching Google, you are using artificial intelligence, because no two people on Earth get the same results. The results are filtered on the basis of their profiles. So artificial intelligence has been with us for a long time. We haven't realized that. But the truth is that a real breakthrough happened about 4 months ago with the appearance of what?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT?
Just a robot.
It's a kind of a chatbot.
Yeah.
Okay, so artificial intelligence language model which can talk back to you,
Yes.
and it will do some things for you. If you are an educator, you can ask it to create a lesson plan on anything using any method. Like we experimented with, let's create a lesson plan on one of the most famous Polish books called Pan Tadeusz with the use of gamification method. So it created the lesson plan, and then there were some worksheets mentioned. So we needed to ask, okay, so create the worksheets mentioned in point 2 of the lesson. So it created the worksheets which we could distribute to students, and you've got the lesson. So of course, sometimes if you have experience, you can see that not everything is perfect. But it's a good start, so it saves you time, just as you mentioned. It really saves you time. You can do things you have already done, or you've already been doing, but you can do them more quickly, more efficiently. Maybe the quality of the thing that you do will improve, because instead of thinking on your own about some points for an article for a newspaper, you can ask the ChatGPT or for ChatGPT 4, the paid version, which is about 80 times better than ChatGPT 3. Or you can ask Bing, or you can ask Google Bart, is it Bart?
Or Siri.
Or Siri. Siri has been with us for a long time, but the new versions are really, really scary sometimes. Because before, when I was teaching lessons about will robots will replace your jobs, and we used this website created by some kind of BBC related something, and I typed, okay, a shop assistant, 95% of chances of being replaced by a robot. Lawyer, 60% of chances of being replaced by a robot. Physical therapist, 2% of being replaced by a robot. Teacher, how many percent used it to be replaced by a robot for a teacher?
77.
90.
4. It used to be 4%. So nobody believed that a robot or a computer can really replace a teacher. But now, for the last 4 months, who knows? It definitely is higher than 4%, especially taking into consideration the fact that remote learning includes also e-learning, and artificial intelligence can create e-learning materials in no time. And if students are used to using e-learning materials, they can be assisted by artificial intelligence. If you use Duolingo, do you know Duolingo, anyone? Do you use Khan Academy?
Yes.
Anyone? Again, it introduced a feature of an assistant, a tutor, AI-powered tutor, which can give you some ideas of what you can do after you attempted to do some maths problem and you made a mistake, and on the basis of what kind of mistake you made, you will be given some ideas of how you can develop further. So we are living in the world which the Chinese say in their curse that, may you live in interesting times. This is a curse, and we are definitely living in interesting times. And they are getting more and more interesting with every month. So another aspect of AI is that apart from the fact that it can help us be more productive, it can also be some threat to young people who are concerned about their future jobs.
Yeah.
Drivers, if you wanted to become a driver because you are passionate about cars, and now you've got autonomous cars, self-driving trucks. And it's not, the song of the future, it's already happening. In Texas, IKEA introduced self-driving trucks 5 months ago. So it's really something that concerns the young people to the point that it distracts them from being efficient learners, and it has some effects on their mental health and so on. Not only on their mental health, by the way. So the only constant is change. Change, change, change. You need to be flexible. You need to teach people at schools how to be flexible. And because I'm a fan of Kung Fu and Tai Chi, during the pandemic crisis, I researched Chinese language a bit, and those two signs mean crisis, and they are pronounced like Wei Ji, and Wei is danger, but Ji is, in this way, it's opportunity. So there is always some kind of opportunity in danger, in crisis, and people learned that teachers can switch into using online lessons in a week. They don't need half a year of training to do this. Students can have lessons without leaving their beds. So there are lots of opportunities for professional development for teachers which appeared along the way, because normally you would have to go to a teacher conference. Sometimes your boss would not let you to go to the conference because you need to be at school. But now you can take part in a training, professional development training. Every evening on Facebook something is happening. You can learn about programming, you can learn about artificial intelligence, and about almost anything. But the only resource which is not expendable is time. So it's really the idea of FOMO, fear of missing out, that young people are also dealing with, but teachers also are dealing with FOMO, fear of missing out on something. Like, my friend took part in a very good conference and I couldn't attend, so I'm upset, and so on. So we need to take into consideration things like not being able to do everything and still being okay with it. Now, if you want to be successful, you have to have 3 things. Any ideas? Will.
Sacrifice.
Goal.
Sacrifice, yes? Will, sacrifice.
Concentration.
Constance.
Consistency.
Consistency, being consistent.
Concentration.
Goal.
Goals,
Concentration.
considerations,
Adaptable.
I'll be adaptable, flexible,
Perseverance.
perseverance. Okay, now again, during the pandemic, I remember when after my own lessons, teaching my own lessons, I went into the garden and I tried to take out the weeds, and I was listening to podcasts, and I learned about the triad. And the triad consists of the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set. In English it's very nicely with the set, set and set. In Polish it's not that nice. But when you think about it, you can have tools for something, like you buy the best camera, you know, and then after 2 weeks you forget about taking it for your holidays and you don't use it because your mindset is not there, or you don't have the skills to operate Excel, which is kind of like a huge machine with which very advanced things, and students just know how to open it and do the
And do one thing.
and yes, do one table and that's all, because they don't have the skills. They have the tools, they are free to use by students. The schools buy the software and make the software available to students, but students just scratch the surface. They use only the features which were available 20 years ago already. But when you have the mindset, the skill set and the tool set, in any walk of life, it doesn't only concern education, it's also about sport, it's also about business, it's also about almost anything that you can think of. Now I changed it a little bit, because to be more specific, you need to have growth mindset, and we will talk about what growth mindset really is. Have you ever heard this term? Raise your hand if you have heard about growth mindset. Nastawienie na rozwój in Polish. What would it be in Italian? Growth mindset?
Crescita mentale.
Okay. In Slovakian? Nastawienie, rozwój, mentality.
We don't translate this actually.
Oh, so you just say growth
Yeah.
mindset?
They just use mindset usually.
Mindset. Aha.
The word is like.
That's interesting. Okay. What about
Romania.
Romania?
Gândire de performanță, de creștere, something, but we would use it in English as well.
Ah, okay. Who else is here? Czech Republic?
Yeah,
No, it's the same
we
as
said,
Slovak.
we don't translate.
Okay. This is your attention. So we will talk about it in detail. When we think about the skill set on the part of an educator, there are the 4 C's of education. Anyone heard about 4 important skills that we need to teach nowadays, apart from teaching maths and languages and programming?
Communication.
No, communication, yes, consistency, not yet, but communication. Yes, so creativity, communication, collaboration, we have 3. No,
Observation.
no.
Cooperation.
Cooperation, creativity, communication, and critical thinking. Critical thinking, so being able to deal with fake news, with deep fakes, with phishing, and so on. So 4 C's. In fact, they even say about the 5 C's, they added citizenship. So teaching people how to be responsible citizens, as far as politics, as far as climate, and so on. And as far as tool set is concerned, we need to teach students how to be creators and curators. So not only people who use the materials they find on the internet and they are only consumers, but we need to teach them, but we also need to think about ourselves as people who create things. Like my podcasts, I was the person who created the 100 episodes which people still can listen to, and they can expand their abilities as far as being a teacher in Poland. Students can create their own blogs, they can create their own movies, they can, during my English lessons, they recently have created some kind of commercials as a micro project. During 45 minutes they created a prototype for a commercial in English. And they can put it online there. And what does it mean that we and our students should be curators? What does it mean to curate materials on the web?
To correct.
No.
To be able to identify the authenticity of information.
No. Curate.
To preserve something?
Yes. Do you have a word like this in Romanian? Like
Yes.
Curatio.
We have curator,
okay.
actually, so it's so similar.
So when you are surfing the web, from time to time you can see very, very important things, like a link to a good website or a great platform which you can use for free, and a good episode of a podcast. But you need to be able to put it together and collect it, to have collections of things like that. And they don't teach it at school. They teach maths, and we teach maths, we teach English and so on, but we don't teach students how to deal with this storm of information which is directed to them. So if you want to be efficient teacher, you also can use, what kind of tools can you use to curate information? Do you know any tools which you can save websites for later, for example? You can bookmark them in your browser, but some kind of more professional tools. Wakelet is probably the best. Wakelet. It was bought by Microsoft, so it's owned by Microsoft, but it's made available to everybody for free. Wakelet, Padlet, Linoid. I will create a Padlet for you. I will create a collection with links for you for tomorrow. You will have links to interesting podcasts. Interesting podcasts, interesting websites, interesting platforms to the English language course which we created and so on, and it will be in one place. You will not need to write them down or take photos. You will have it in one place, and it's something which really it's a sign of a person who is effective in productivity, that this person can have this one place, like Google Keep, for example, is one way, or if you have iPhone, you've got Notes or Notatki, whatever, and you can use tagging system to find the information very quickly. So again, the curating part. And if we talk about growth mindset, it's not something that I invented, definitely. It was created, the term was coined, discovered, the phenomenon was discovered by Professor Carol Dweck. She is a professor at Stanford University, and she has been employed by Google first, but then for the last 5 or 6 years she's been working very hard with employees at Microsoft. And I personally believe that this rejuvenation of Microsoft that's going on with ChatGPT 3 after a long time of sleeping and being, laughed at and so on, might be her work a bit, because she works with employees to talk to them about growth mindset and how to be creative, but also how to face challenges, how to do things with better well-being and so on. And it might be something that it's worth learning about. How did she come up with this idea? for the last 30 years, she's been dealing with this problem, and originally, when she was working with students, she wondered, how is it possible that there are some students who, when they make a mistake or when they fail at something, they don't worry about it, but they, brush up and they continue working, and it doesn't make them any, it doesn't make them upset. They just carry on hard work, no matter what. They are really motivated. If they have some possibility of taking part in something which might be a challenge for them, they say, why not? Okay, let's do it, give it to me. But there are some other students who sometimes, when they have to do something, they say, I'm too good to do it. I don't want to spoil fun for other people because I'm so intelligent that I will probably have the first place, so I will, let somebody else do it because it's beneath me. I'm better than that. And she thought that probably majority of parents would prefer their children to be like the first kind. Like if you have, if you're learning to ride a bike, you fall, but you get on the bike and continue. Now, do you know how to ride a bike?
Yes.
Everybody? Okay. Now, what happens in schools is that I'm talking to high school students and they say, I can't ride a bike. It's not like I don't like it, I don't need it, I can't. Nobody has ever taught me.
Actually, I can't ride a bike.
You can't?
I can't. Yeah.
I learned recently.
Yeah, I'm trying to, but it's it's hard. It's like I cannot understand. Gravitation doesn't work like that. They're trying to. Then homeless people are watching me when I'm trying to ride it, and they're like, "No, you don't need to do it like this." And then they take the bike and.
And it used to be something very, very obvious for my generation that even if you didn't have your own bike, you took your friend's bike and you learned to do it, just like that. This snowflake generation and their parents sometimes, their parents say, oh, maybe I will not teach my child to ride a bike. And I don't know what I was talking.
Maybe I don't
We need to be
teach
flexible.
maybe I don't need to teach my children how to ride.
Parents say that maybe I will not teach my children to ride a bike because the child might fall, something bad might happen, maybe my child will ride a bike in front of a car and will have an accident, so maybe it's better not to teach. This is the way sometimes people think, the youngest generation of parents. So then imagine this child having the final exam at school. The first time any challenge has been suggested to be taken by the child. So what she did was she made a research and she took 4,000 students in New York. Yes?
Can I just ask, isn't there another group of people or students who are afraid of failure?
The fixed mindset people are afraid of failure, and we will talk about them in a moment. Yes, exactly. So there's the first group and the other one, and she made a research and she took those students from New York and she gave them very simple test. Everybody was successful. But she divided students into two groups, and let's pretend you are group number one, and she gave them feedback. You did this test very well, you are very intelligent, geniuses, wow, congratulations. And then she went to another group and she said, you did this test very well, you must have worked very hard. Okay? Just one feedback, one piece of feedback. After that, the second part of the experiment was, they said, you know, we didn't know that you would do this test so well, so we didn't prepare a test which is a little bit more difficult, but we've got some tests which were supposed to be done by very, you know, old students, and they are very hard. So you have a choice. You can either take this very hard test, or we will give you another easy test. What will you choose? And they asked this group, which was praised for intelligence. What would you choose?
More challenging.
You would choose the more challenging, you would choose the easy one.
Challenging.
Easy.
More challenging.
More challenging. So there are different opinions. How about this group? Which would you take? Easy?
Do you want to go to the test?
Harder? Okay, so the results. Now I can show this slide. The easy tasks. And 40%, quite well, but 40% chose the difficult tasks.
Because we think we are too good to be true.
Also, but maybe you don't want to lose face of being intelligent. If you take the hard one, maybe they will not say again that you are geniuses, but they will say, oh, you are failures. Yes? But what about this group? They only said you did very good job, you worked hard. And what happened? 10% of people chose the easy tasks, but 90% chose the more difficult ones. Why?
Because they believe
They
we
want
can
to
do better.
Okay?
They want to prove that they are more than
Also because of the hard work in comparison to the other group, that was something about themselves, not about their activity beforehand.
Exactly. It was like, you are geniuses.
Yes.
Okay, I am a genius. I need to
Yes.
preserve this phase of being a genius. And here, you worked hard. So, okay, I will work hard again. Who knows what happens? Yeah, so she realized that maybe we can change people's mindsets. We as educators, we as parents, maybe we can praise children in a different way. Maybe we can give different feedback. And now imagine myself, after 23 years of work, completing higher education studies, and so on, psychology, blah, blah, blah. And my own child got the second place in a Kung Fu competition. And I said, in the best intents possible, you are so talented, Kamil. If you only had worked a little bit more, you would get the first place. And he, in an international competition, the second place, wow. Yes. He only, I was not the number one. Sorry, Dad. This was, like, people do it because they feel it's something that will motivate the child. Only a little bit, you are talented. Why not work a little bit harder? So now Kamil no longer practices Kung Fu. He dropped out after completing high school, primary school, and so on. But fortunately, in the meantime, I learned about growth mindset, and now Natalia, she still practices Kung Fu, and she's kind of successful in it because she works hard, and I really think about what I'm talking about with her, and how am I,
delivering the message.
Exactly. So, growth mindset was for the people who really wanted to take challenges and they didn't mind mistakes and failures, and fixed mindset was for people who believed they are either intelligent or they are not intelligent and they cannot do anything about it. Like, intelligence is a characteristics which we are born with, and that's it. If you think like that, you have fixed mindset, and you will have problems with taking up challenges. Now, people who believe that intelligence can be developed, and the research done by neuroscientists really proved in the last 20 years, it proved that everybody can develop their minds, brains, neurons, neural pathways throughout the whole life. New cells, new neurons are born in your brain, and the ones which are already there can be strengthened, the connections can be strengthened, and what you need to do is to provide some effort. Because if you don't exercise it, it's like with your muscles. If you lie in bed all the time, your muscles will disappear. And exactly this is what happens with neuroplasticity. The term neuroplasticity means that your brain adapts to situation. Like if you don't give challenges to your brain, it will, grow lazy. If you provide challenges all the time, it will go stronger and stronger and stronger. At the time when I was in high school, when somebody compared brain to a muscle, it was like, are you stupid? No, no way, you cannot. It's not a muscle, it's a different tissue, and so on. Of course it is. But it works exactly in the same way that if you talk to even small children and it will say to them, okay, you have a hard thing, but if you attempt to do it, your brain will grow. And then the children, okay, why not? It's okay. You don't need to explain to them on the level of dendrites, axons, neural pathways, whatever. Just, okay, my brain will grow because something hard is at school. And this is something that we can do as teachers, at least attempt to do, at least understand that it is possible. And we also should talk about it to parents. Because if you support growth mindset, but the child will go home and the mom says, oh, I will do it for you, it's too difficult for you, don't worry, I will do it. Yes, why not? It will be quicker. And maybe the parent will get the good mark at school for his or her work. But of course it will be harmful to the child. So, there is, what is your mindset test? I changed the activity a little bit, and you can stand up if you agree. So, if you agree that people can learn new things, but they cannot change their level of intelligence, stand up. If you agree with this sentence, people can learn new things, but they cannot change their level of intelligence.
Tak souhlasím třeba s tím prvním a s tím
Okay, you can sit down. Of course, it's not true. The latest research, you can change your level of intelligence. So measuring your intelligence is kind of, if you do lots of tests, you will be better at every test. So,
Yes,
but you can't change drastically, I think. Maybe a few points or something, but it is not like a great change.
yes, you will not become a genius. This is, growth mindset doesn't promise that every child will become Einstein. Definitely. But with effort, with time and with work, everybody can improve. This is what is promised.
yes, that's what I wanted to say, that people will improve, but
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's
they
their mental
improve,
skills.
no, but if they improve, it means they can change the level of intelligence. A bit, but if you, because what is intelligence? If you understand intelligence as your effectiveness of your brain, you can develop it. Because if you do lots of hard tasks, your brain will get better. And you have to believe in it also. Because if you don't believe in it, you will not get better. This is interesting. They made a research. They showed that if there are senior citizens and they want to learn a new language, for example, because somebody told them that if you learn things, it's good for your brain. They will not learn the language. But if the senior citizens have their children who went to England and they got married and they have grandchildren, they will learn English in 1 year and a half from scratch. Because why? Because their inner part knows that this is really important to them. So you have to internalize the need. So you have to believe that you need something. If you believe it, you will be able to get it or to start going in this direction. So again, another one, stand up if you agree. I can change my level of intelligence through hard work and effort.
This is what we mentioned.
Okay, but you know, something to... Yeah, okay, thank you. Definitely. Then if it is obvious for you, you will not need to think about it and it will work with you. Another one. Instead of difficult tasks, I prefer those that I can perform perfectly without making any mistakes.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes. This is important.
Depends on the purpose.
Exactly. Sometimes depends. And this is important because growth mindset is no binary. There is no 0 or 1. It's mixture. You can be growth mindset oriented in sport, but fixed mindset oriented in learning German. No way. I tried for 4 years. After 4 years of learning German, I went to Berlin and I couldn't buy bread rolls because I had no idea how to talk to the person and so on. So it's not 0 or 1, so it's important. So also when I ask people, teachers especially, about doing things perfectly, this question is the question which gives me the most answers like, oh yeah, I prefer those tasks which can be done perfectly. Teachers are super good at trying to do everything perfectly. And of course, in the meantime, instead of just trying to do things which are good enough, they do things perfectly and they spend 3 times as much time as they could have spent just doing it good enough. It's important. And if something is difficult, it motivates me to even greater effort. If you agree, stand up. Okay, thank you. So if something is difficult, like you get something, like you need to repair your washing machine, you get to YouTube, you watch the video, you do it, nothing works, but you watch another video and finally you succeed, or so something like this. If such things motivate you and you don't give up, it means that you tend to have more growth mindset oriented inner self, let's say. And the last one, if some tasks require hard work and effort, I feel not very intelligent, give up quickly. It's also important to say it to yourself, okay, I think like this, because this is the first step on the way to thinking about, well, this is, if something is hard, this is not about you. This doesn't say you are this or that. This is about the task. The task is hard. Or the task is easy. It doesn't mean that you are so intelligent. It's about the task. And the research which I mentioned about the mental health of children, very often, if they are faced with a difficult thing, and at school, believe me, everything now is difficult. Like the curriculum and so on, which was introduced with changes, it's super difficult. And if children believe this, their help me with self-esteem is like this. Because, oh, I cannot understand maths, I cannot understand chemistry, I cannot learn English. Where am I in this? I'm super not very intelligent. But if the teacher says, okay, I believe this is hard, I know that this part of chemistry is hard, I really feel for you, but let's try to attempt to do it. Now, the worst thing that a teacher can say to a student, what is the worst thing? It's easy! It's so easy! Come on, let's do nuclear something. Nuclear fusion or something, grade 3 in high school in Poland. In physics, you do nuclear something. It's easy! If it is easy, I'm stupid. And then this is how they leave school, thinking that they are stupid. So if the teacher empathizes with them, if the teacher says, I understand this is hard, but let's focus on how to do it, let's not focus on what does it say about you, because it doesn't say anything about you. If you give up, it says about you the fact that you might have growth mindset in this field. This is the only thing that it says about you. So, just summing up, the basic feature of growth mindset is that you really believe that intelligence can be developed and improved, and you have the scientific data about it. There is a platform called Class Dojo. Have you ever heard about it?
No, sorry.
It's a Class Dojo. It's a system, a platform where you create your own class, and every child has his or her own avatar, and you can the avatar develops depending on how well the children do at school and so on. I don't really believe in this kind of reward system, but Class Dojo has got 4 animated films about how the brain develops, and you can play the film to even children who are 10 years old or 7 years old. So when they watch it, they believe it, and you know that it's not fake news, so it's okay. So it's kind of obvious for them that, okay, hard thing, my brain grows. Like, have you ever been to the gym? Do you go to the gym regularly?
Yes.
Okay, can you see people who take some weights, and very, very, very small weights, and they do this for... What will the effect be? No effect, come on. But if you get a little bit more, you will start to get the effect. If you get lots more, what will happen?
You will burn out.
You will burn out, you will destroy your muscles, so you need to be very careful about how much effort you require your children to do. In fixed mindset, people just think that, okay, my intelligence is with me all the time, and no matter what I do, I will not learn this math, and so on. So that's it. If you have growth mindset, you accept challenges, because if you have the challenge, you know that it's a chance, it's an opportunity, like in the Chinese Wei Ji, it's an opportunity to expand, to learn. Now, if you heard about this seminar, did you think that it's an opportunity for you and you chose it? Okay, so this is the mechanism, how you worked, why your friends are not here with you.
Lazy.
Maybe not lazy, maybe just thought that
Maybe they will not
believe in the growth, mind growth.
Yes, or they will not, their English will not be good enough, so they're afraid,
They don't believe in
insecurity, they don't believe in themselves, and so on. So this is, when you have this, the theory of growth mindset, it's a tool which you can use to explain things which happen around you and which happen to you also. So it's a very nice thing. for people who don't have the growth mindset, they believe that a challenge is a chance that their true intelligence will be revealed. Or if you believe that mental effort positively influences your brain, you tend to be more persistent when learning difficult things. It's obvious that you will not give up. And people who have some hard task and they believe that the only thing that this hard task does is to judge the person, that intelligence of this person is very low, so you will not even try, because even trying you may be in the position that somebody will, oh, you cannot speak English, or something like this, yes? Effort hard, they are treated as necessary even. So you achieve success more than people who don't believe in themselves, because this is connected. What I said about the research, that students nowadays, half of them think that they are good for nothing. Half of them, at least. Teaching them about growth mindset really will result in long-term improvement of their mental health too, because it will give them scientific basis that hard things don't correlate with their level of intelligence. And of course, imagine a child who is fixed mindset oriented, or who has fixed mindset, and if you say to this child, oh, you need to put more effort, the child understands, I'm stupid, I know. More effort, more, I'm so stupid. Yes, because intelligence cannot be improved in what this child thinks with fixed mindset. And if you say, oh, more effort, teachers do this, yes, just put more effort, so this child also thinks that the only people who have to put more effort are the stupid people. So another thing, constructive feedback. Who has done any sport with a coach or a trainer? If your coach tells you that, okay, if you want to score the goal and you've got the football in front of you, you need to stand closer to the ball and then you need to kick. What does the player do? Follow the feedback or say, oh, I will not do it, sorry.
Follow.
It's obvious. Now at school, the teacher says, okay, read something again. No way. Because sometimes they don't trust teachers, they don't trust that the teacher cares. And they don't believe that reading it again will change anything. Sometimes it will not. Because there are some other ways of learning apart from rereading again, and we will talk about it tomorrow. And so constructive criticism is something that people with growth mindset treat as something that they should be thankful for. I was talking to a boss of HR, Human Resources Department, in one of the biggest IT companies in Poland. It's called Blue Media. When you pay over the internet, you always pay through Blue Media, or almost always. So she said that when she gets young employees and she gives them feedback on something, they are offended. They say, oh no, I knew that, but I forgot. I knew that. It's not something that I didn't know. But she said that you need to, when you get feedback, what do? You thank. You say thank you, because it's something that helps you grow. Very, very obvious thing. Think about if you are a student And if your professor gives you feedback, are you thankful or are you, upset? Like,
Depends on how the feedback was delivered.
okay, this is
The
important.
professors tend to be arrogant sometimes.
Exactly.
So,
What kind of feedback you get? Is it informative and helpful, or is it the very you are stupid?
This is kind of like
Yeah.
yours.
Exactly. So maybe the teachers, professors also need to, develop, learn all your life. You will be learning, they should learn all their lives. So this constructive feedback is something very important. So formative assessment. Have you heard about formative assessment? In Polish it's ocenianie kształtujące. So not giving grades like, oh, you've got A, you've got D, you've got 1 or 5, depending on the system. But instead of giving the grade,
Performance sheet.
something like this. So this was good, this was not good, it can be improved. There are lots of techniques like glow and grow, for example. Like if I sometimes ask my students to judge, to evaluate themselves, each other, one another. I say give one thing for glow, what's glowing, what's good, and one thing for grow, so what can be improved. So I love this, glow and grow, and it always gives you like, oh, you did this very nice, yes, you can improve this, yes. But if you start, you have to change this. It's kind of technique, it's a tool, you need to know how to use the tool. Okay. Success of others. This is very, very nationality oriented sometimes, I think, because mentality in Poland, for example, the Polish participants here, if somebody from your group has some big success, what happens?
People get jealous.
Sometimes people get jealous, sometimes yes. It always depends, but lots of times it's like, it was just luck.
So you're like downsizing the success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, this is the sign of fixed mindset. With fixed mindset, people say, oh, it was, everybody could do it. I also could do it, could have done it.
I just didn't get the opportunity.
Exactly. Oh, I had something else to do, and so
on. If I would
on.
study as long as you, I would also do it.
Of course, everybody would. But people with maybe Anglo-Saxon countries, they have this different attitude. Like if somebody has some victory, like all the class cheers and claps and this kind of supporting feedback is also very important, because they know that if one of us could win this, it means that I also can win this sometime when I work hard. This is not like, oh, I'm from a very small village and it means that I have no way of winning. Somebody from my village achieved something, this means it's doable. Okay. So as parents, as teachers, we can support children and students to develop growth mindset. And Carol Dweck, she said something like this. Just read it. And me with my wife, we thought that it's also like this. And if you are successful in supporting your students in trying to teach them or provide them opportunity to love challenges, to be intrigued with their mistakes, and enjoy effort, keep learning. This is, the best success that a teacher can have. Not like, awards or whatever. This is something which really is the ultimate success. So, when praising, when giving feedback, maybe I should change the word, because praising is always, so we shouldn't praise? Okay, when giving feedback, appreciate effort, but also strategies, like you can say, oh, tell me how you did it, how did you do it, what kind of strategies did you use? Instead of saying, oh, you are talented, you did it perfectly, without any mistakes, or you are a genius. Try to avoid this. We should educate students that our brain is well suited to learn new things. It's something which is kind of a positive message. It sends a message like, if you try, you've got everything there that will make it happen. I will start the next workshop tomorrow with this activity, so today we are trying to get to the end, so this might be something that will prove to you, but also to your students, that you can improve with time and with effort. So we've got about 100 billion neurons in our brain, and if you imagine the neuron with all the dendrites, how many dendrites there are in one neuron? 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 100, 1000, more than 1,000, sometimes 10,000 of dendrites in one neuron. But if you have the images, they can show you like 6, 7, 8 or something. But in fact, if you think how many possible connections there are in the neurons, it's more than the number of atoms in the world. There's something like this. Then we've got the last thing, that how we can help people develop growth mindset, is to understand that mistakes and failures are important parts of learning process on our way to success. And what happens in social media is that they always see the results, like somebody posts a medal or a trophy, and we have the feeling that everybody wins, but I'm the only person who doesn't win anything. I don't go to holidays in an exotic country, but all my friends always happy, always smiling. But you probably noticed when you see people taking selfies, it's like, I need to, something like this. People who are sometimes lonely go to holidays alone, and they spend, this is the experience from going to Sicily last week. You're from Sicily? Okay, so there was a woman who was alone on the beach, and she spent 2 hours taking selfies in the best possible, this is the only thing she did for 2 hours. And I believe that her selfies are perfect, and all her friends now envy her. Oh, what a great holiday she had. So we need to understand that the success is only the top of the iceberg. Below, you've got hard work, you've got lots of time, you have failures, and so on and so forth. And if you go to YouTube, and if you cannot do it here because of no internet, but if you go to famous failures, you will have lots of videos about Michael Jordan, Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, not Whitney Houston, but could you give me some other examples?
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, exactly. All of them experienced lots of failures before becoming really successful. And interesting thing, I tried to find a similar film in Polish, with Polish examples and so on. How many films did I find? None. Zero. Nothing. Try to find it in Italian, Romanian, Czech. You will see. Because in English you've got like 100 of films like this, in different formats, different people and so on. We had to create our own. So I will give you a link tomorrow. There is a film which we created with my wife with examples from Poland with Irena Eris, Janka Ochojska, Błaszczykowski, Małysz, and so on. So kind of local people who our students know, and so on. So for example, let's try to do this one. Who, at the age of 11, was cut from his team after being diagnosed with growth hormone deficiency, which made him smaller in stature than most kids of his age.
Messi.
Everybody knows that, yes? So he had problems, he was very, very small. Nobody believed that anything good will happen to him. But then he became the player of the year 3 times. And also there are lots of examples like this with Walt Disney, who was fired from a newspaper, and his boss said, "You are not creative enough for us, sorry." He could, go and cry. Yes. And there is a film about Walt Disney, which you can watch about this situation also.
Probably he did anyway. Probably he did cry.
Yes, maybe. Michael Jordan, yes, he really, after not being admitted to the basketball team, Michael Jordan came home, cried, and his mother, her heart was breaking. But well, then he thought,
yes,
let's try to practice more. Personas, very important thing for every one of you, but also with your students. Because growth mindset is not binary, what you can do is you can understand that there is a person behind you or on your shoulder that will try to, say, it's not worth doing, stay in bed longer, don't go and don't practice, it's too hard for you, everybody will laugh at you if you attempt to do it. But if you understand that this voice is something normal, everybody has that, then you will not have this mental battle in your head all the time. But you say, okay, I understand, but I will try. Now this is for you for 15 seconds. Think about situations in which this was Anne and the persona of growth mindset. Maybe you can give a name to this persona of fixed mindset in your head. So, my wife's persona of fixed mindset is Gertrude. So think about in which situations you can hear this voice talking over your shoulder, telling you, to give up and, it's not worth.
In the morning when I have to wake up early.
Exactly. But if you do it consciously, okay, I know that you are saying that, but I will try. Now, very easy things that you can do. If you hear somebody or a child, a student saying, I can't do this, what can they do with this? Add the word yet. And now there is a very famous TED talk by Carol Dweck, The Power of Yet. And you should see it, The Power of Yet. You will have the link tomorrow on your Padlet. What a stupid mistake I made. I'm useless. What can you change in this self-talk?
The next time I did it.
For example, okay, I made a mistake, but I can use it to grow, I can use it to improve, and so on. What a stupid, to już było. And now there are 3 things, just to close the motivation thing, from a different perspective. So growth mindset, watch The Power of Yet, this is something that will stay with you. But about self-determination theory, and raise your hand if you have heard the self-determination theory thing. It's also something I heard during the pandemic listening to podcasts. I didn't finish, studies or university degree about this, but in Polish it's Teoria samostanowienia, and it was created by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, and it says that there is this inner motivation, which is called autonomous motivation, and there is outside motivation, which is called the extrinsic or controlled motivation. And it's better to try to support the motivation inside the student. So you as a teacher cannot motivate a student because it is from the outside, but you can do things to support students' motivation. How? You can give the students more autonomy. You can give them some choice. You can, if you do a project, maybe children can think about the title for the project on their own. Competence, you are motivated when you feel that you can do things. If you feel that the things are too difficult for you and you just don't have enough skills, it will be demotivating. So if you give your students something to do, remember that it should be a little bit more difficult than very easy, but not too difficult. So they should have this feeling, okay, I have the tools to do it. Somebody helped me. And if you feel competent, you feel also you've got this self-esteem growing. Because, okay, I did it, I managed, I woke up and I went out of bed. It's also something powerful. Very small things, you don't have to win the Polish championship for that. And relatedness is the feeling that you are together and you're part of something greater. Like you can rely on your friends and they are proud of you, proud of your family, your parents and so on. So this is also something very, very motivating. If you